countdown because we are live. Hello, I am Willie Bragg, host of the Willie Bragg Show, where I like to do what I like to do most, and that is to discuss politics. It is my pastime. And I want to discuss something that's part of the mainstream pop culture that I tend to try to keep away from, and that is mainstream news and mainstream information, because that is where you will find all the misinformation and fake news at. And the thing about it is that I have to go there, and I'm putting this on this video clip from Twitter because I do not know if there is a copyright violation situation that could transpire. So, but I want to discuss Whoopi Goldberg's controversial remarks recently on The View. But before I do, I just want to state it right up front. I detest The View as much as I detest Fox and Friends. And I will talk a little more about that a little bit. But I think that both programs are the source of brain cancer in this country. IQ points are certainly at a loss. But I will get back to that in a moment. But what I want to discuss would be the remarks that was made by Whoopi Goldberg on The View, and I will comment shortly thereafter.
Well, also, if you're going to do this, then let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race. No. It's not about race.
It is.
No, it's about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about.
But it's about white supremacy. It's
Well,
about
but
going
it's
after
not
Jews
about
and race.
But these are two white groups of people.
Well, that was after black
but
people,
see
too.
them
as white people. And they
But
went
you're
after
missing the point.
homosexuals.
You're
Yeah.
missing the point.
Yeah.
The minute you turn it into race, it goes down this alley. Let's talk about it for what it is. It's how people treat each other. It's a problem. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, because black, white, Jews, everybody eats each other. So if you're uncomfortable, if you hear about mouse, should you be worried? Should your child say, oh my God, I wonder if that's me? No, that's not what they're going to say. They're going to say, I don't want to be like that.
Well, hopefully. I want to be cool.
Yeah,
And
most kids, they don't want to be cool.
No, they don't. And we're living in an era where people are comparing vaccine cards to the yellow stars, where people are comparing vaccinations to what Anne Frank went through. Yeah. So it is necessary for kids to learn about the Holocaust.
Learn about man's inhumanity to man, however it exposes itself. I have to cut you off.
I just want to say that Mouse was banned and it flew to top 20 of Amazon's rules last week. Charts.
Yes.
People, the more you ban it, the more we want to read it.
Okay, Whoopi Goldberg got in trouble for, I guess one would construe it as insensitive remarks regarding the Holocaust in Germany against the Jewish people. And I think that some people are going to interpret it as Whoopi Goldberg being anti-Semitic. Whoopi Goldberg was raised Jewish. I know she's African American, but she was raised Jewish. And I don't think she observed the faith theologically, but for what I understand, she is still, Jewish by culture, because that was what she was raised in, the faith, the tradition, and if you're observing its culture, you are still Jewish. Like I give you for example, Bernie Sanders is Jewish. He's not a religious person, but he is Jewish by culture, and what I can understand, he observes he observes his Jewish tradition. I will disagree with Ben Shapiro about that, because he thinks that if you were Jewish and you no longer give up, as you no longer practice the faith of Judaism, you're no longer Jewish. Judaism is a religion, theology, but it's also an ethnicity. And she, I mean, in her case, she's probably a convert. Well, obviously, because she was, raised by a Jewish family. So having that said, when she was talking about man's inhumanity to man, she was 100% correct on that. What happened to the Jews was all that you could define in the term evil. It was every bit as evil as what European settlers in Europe and in the United States both done to the black people in Africa, turning them into slaves. And equally evil. And if we must never forget, when it comes to what happened to the Jewish people, same thing with critical race theory, which is considered controversial. It is not an anti-white ideology that's being indoctrinated or anything like that. I mean, and if it was like whites are just pieces of shit, I would oppose critical race theory. And when never forget, meaning look what happened to the Jewish people. 6 million Jews died. And it's not just Jewish people. Jewish people died in the Holocaust. Now, my people died in the Holocaust too. Yeah, I'm a white guy. I'm a white guy. But yeah, I could say that because if I lived in Germany under Hitler with the politics I have today, I would have been a social democrat. Social democrats were put into concentration camps too, along with the communists, along with the gay and lesbian community, along with the physically disabled, the mentally disabled, homosexuals, lesbians, I said that, people who were gypsies, Jehovah Witnesses, you name it. If anybody that was a threat to Hitler, whether it was based on race, religious differences, political differences, or any kind of differences that did not jibe with the ideology of National Socialism, Hitler would put these people away. So I do not think that Whoopi Goldberg was sitting there trying to make an anti-Semitic remark, and I think that that's pretty damn vicious. And I am not a fan of Whoopi Goldberg. I kind of was okay with some of her films in the past, but I pretty much gave up on Whoopi Goldberg in the last few years, and I'll tell you why. Especially in the 2020 primaries regarding hold on a second here. Regarding the Democratic primaries, it's obvious that she was favorable to people like Joe Biden, people like Kamala Harris, people like that in the Democratic primaries. She hated Bernie Sanders, she hated AOC, and she hated Tulsi Gabbard, and she treated these three people who were separately on The View, treated them horribly. Now, Meghan McCain treated those three guests far worse than Whoopi Goldberg. But because of what Whoopi Goldberg and Meghan McCain did, I already despised Meghan McCain. My opinion of Meghan McCain hasn't changed. But I said to myself, personally, I will never watch another movie again starring Whoopi Goldberg or support her in any way, shape, or fashion for what she did to Bernie Sanders, for what she did to AOC, and for what she did to Tulsi Gabbard. And I got my criticisms of Bernie Sanders and my criticisms of AOC and my criticisms of Tulsi Gabbard right now in the year 2022. But still, looking back, what she did to those three, unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. So, as I said, when watching programs like it just nauseates me to You know, I work graveyard shift, and if you ever see me putting on the TV, and if I see The View on TV, I shut that shit down right away. If you ever get a chance, just Google search The View and Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon's one of the best comedians around right now. There is a wealth of material about The View and Tim Dillon. Especially if you type in Tim Dillon and Meghan McCain. Marvelous. I would just say you would not be sorry. You would not be sorry at all. But yeah, I hate The View. I really do. I mean, I despise The View. I basically equate The View with the vomit that comes from, you guessed it, the vomit that comes from Fox and Friends. You know, I mean, it's Fox and Friends is nothing more than a right-wing version of The View. Or you could say that The View is basically a liberal version of Fox and Friends. They all play for a team. The Fox and Friends theme basically is Democrats bad, Republicans good. And on The View, Democrats good unless you're Bernie Sanders or AOC or Tulsi Gabbard. Democrats otherwise are always good, and Republicans are always bad. So, you know, I say fuck The View and fuck Fox and Friends and fuck them both equally. Absolutely. So, this is just, you know, I even though it was 2 weeks suspension, it was still bullshit because it's just the cancel culture we live in. And doing this minimize actual anti-Semitism when it appears in its ugly form. And I'm going to tell you two people who've been accused of anti-Semitism on the left these days, where one of them, I will tell you, that's not the case, and the other one, where it is the case. Now, with regard to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, she made negative comments about AIPAC, saying it was all about the Benjamins. And so this gave the right wing, a lot of partisan Republicans, the ammunition to go after Ilhan Omar, and because she's an easy target. She's from Somalia. She's obviously black, and she's a Muslim. So, you know, that's just all the ammunition they need, the propaganda fodder they need to go and smear this woman. Now, there are criticisms I have of Ilhan Omar. Being a sellout is a valid criticism, but saying that AIPAC is basically a corrupt special interest group, it is a corrupt special interest group. And I'm not exactly the biggest, loudest, critic of Israel on the left. I have my criticisms of Israel, I do, but I mean, you know, as I said, they are the AIPAC is a corrupt special interest group, and the thing about it is that what criticism Ilhan Omar has toward Israel, those criticisms would not have to take place if Israel would treat the Palestinians with equality. Now, with regards to going on in Gaza, I say fuck Hamas too. I mean, I don't have any use for it. And she is critical of Hamas. She criticized Israel. She criticized Hamas. She criticized, Saudi Arabia. She's criticized some of the bullshit foreign policy of the United States. So the only criticism I have against Ilhan Omar, and I'm pontificating, but there's more to this, is that she's a sellout. Otherwise, I think she's cool as fuck, and I would love to hang out with her. I think she'd probably be cool to hang out with. Let's see. So that's one person from the left unfairly smeared as an anti-Semite. Now, who's been, in my judgment, quote unquote, on the left, that's been smeared to be an anti-Semite would be, hold on a second, would be Linda Sarsour. Linda Sarsour, in my view, is a dangerous reactionary. And what I can understand, she's apparently homophobic, and she's made disparaging remarks about Jewish people in the past. And as I said, I call it like it is. I call it like it is, and I have no use for Linda Sarsour. As far as I'm concerned, I do think she is an anti-Semite, and I think it's one of Bernie Sanders' mistake to have her as one of the major campaign surrogates during his campaign 2 years ago. My view. So I have no use for Linda Sarsour. But so that takes care of the left. On the right, we can start with somebody who's been accused of anti-Semitism, where I think it sticks. And you've heard me mention this cow before, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's made remarks about the Jewish space lasers being fired into the California forest, causing the wildfires. And she's a QAnon supporter, and usually with the QAnon conspiracy theories about a cabal of pedophiles who are practicing Satanists, committing all this sex trafficking and all that. Sounds like the old blood libel anti-Semitic tropes that existed in the Middle Ages. So as far as I'm concerned, Marjorie Taylor Greene is an anti-Semite. Fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. Not literally. I would not. I would not fuck her with Ted Cruz's limp dick. Let's see here. We have another person that I think has. I used to think this person was the biggest asshole around, and I would never in a million years vote for Pat Buchanan. But Pat Buchanan also has been smeared as an anti-Semite. And I'm going to explain why I come to the conclusion that he is not an anti-Semite. I don't necessarily think he's a great friend of the Jews. I don't necessarily think he's a great friend of Israel. And the reason why, perhaps why the Republican establishment kind of shunned him aside is because of Pat Buchanan does, whenever that sensitive subject comes up, he's really not on page with the contemporary modern Republican Party line about the support for Israel. And starting in 1990, he made what sounded like anti-Semitic tropes, referring to the Israeli lobby drumming up for wars in the Middle East and to go into Iraq. And he was in the Republican Party in the very early days of the Iraq War in 2003. He was, from day one, a staunch critic, which did not jive too well with the party, since that was, during the Bush-Cheney years, that was a sacrament of being supportive of the president, is that you have to go and support all the bullshit measures of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney when it came to invading Iraq, invading Afghanistan, torture, surveillance of all American citizens, just basically making the world less and less safe with the way they conducted things. And Pat Buchanan, I started to think a little bit better of Pat Buchanan. Now, Pat Buchanan, this doesn't mean that I support and like Pat Buchanan these days. I got problems with Pat Buchanan. Do I think he's a racist? I don't necessarily think he's a racist. I think he's probably insensitive. He's stuck in the 1950s, has stuck in his ways, and I think that he's never quite got out of that mental gear. He is a wretched, horrible homophobe. I mean, I don't mean that he thinks that gay people are, icky. I mean, he is a really reactionary, super nasty homophobe. I mean, and it comes from a very, very deeply fundamentalist, I don't know if that's the correct word, traditionalist Roman Catholic worldview he has. And that's why he's very socially reactionary as far as his conservatism. Now, what I think that Pat Buchanan is basically just an old-line paleoconservative. Not in the alt-right, but he's on the last train stop to the alt-right. I don't think he will go there. So he's under what I would call the alt-right, which means very, very extreme paleoconservatives. And so that's the case with Pat Buchanan. But getting back to Whoopi Goldberg, I do think that this whole cancel culture is getting super ridiculous. Because as I said, I have my criticisms of Whoopi Goldberg, and you heard my criticisms of her. I would never support her in any way, shape, or form again. Although I do think that basically cancel culturing, imposing the cancel culture on her is a bit over the top. It really is. So anyway, that's just my words, and I hope that what I'm saying doesn't get misconstrued, because that's how it is today. People are just looking for little words to go and take out of context. And before I go, I was wearing this button throughout this commentary. I have a problem with the modern day Democratic Party, but hold on a second here. As you can see what this is. This is a Paul Wellstone campaign button. In the late 1990s, there was some rumors that Paul Wellstone was going to run for president and challenge Al Gore in the primaries. And I bought a Paul Wellstone t-shirt. I bought the Paul Wellstone button. I belong to the exploratory committee for Paul Wellstone. Unfortunately, he died. He was the Bernie Sanders of the U.S. Senate before Bernie Sanders actually entered the U.S. Senate. And it's sad to say that I think it was in the late October this year would be 20 years since he died. And he died after making a brave vote against the Iraq War when people frowned at people who opposed the Iraq War. And those who opposed the Iraq War ended up turning out to be correct. Very, very correct. So take that, mainstream political culture. We have a chat line here. We have Hot Retarded Chicks. Hey, go Whoopi. Yep. See, she says also Whoopi gets endorsed. Whoopi got to endorse Tulsi eventually. Well, if she has a career, I'm referring to Whoopi Goldberg. Hi, Willie says Progressive Rising. Hi, how are you? Mel Gibson also made anti-Semitic remarks. I do think that Mel Gibson is guilty of that, whereas I do not quite think Pat Buchanan is. And apparently, several years ago, Winona Ryder was passing by Mel Gibson, and the rumor has it that he called her an oven dodger because Winona Ryder is Jewish. So anyway, let's see. Pat Buchanan is a paleoconservative. He's close to being a fascist in the Franco Salazar level. Yeah, that would be true. I know that Pat Buchanan is an admirer of Franco, and he is an admirer of Pinochet in Chile. I do know that for a fact. And Salazar of Portugal would be up his speed. I'm sure he would have been on the wrong side back in April of 1974, April 25th. I know he would have been crying massive tears over the Estado Novo, the new state, the fascist government that was established by Antonio Salazar in the 1930s? Yeah. And Pat Buchanan does have authoritarian streaks in him, and that's definitely for damn sure. If you all like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree with what I have to say, comment anyway. We can have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment absolutist, which is the hill I die on these days, go ahead and create your own platform. I encourage you to do so because we're the muckrakers of our time. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. And until next time, remember, keep that red flag flying. Keep that class struggle going. And free Julian Assange. I'm going to end with music. If there is a weird ad glitch, I'm going to go eventually change that. Hopefully we won't have to endure that. So, take care.